So, good morning.
Good morning.
Gosh, happy Sunday. Let's get real about life's lessons. So, come on, get real. That's our theme for this February. And I pose the questions, are you ready to get real? About life, about relationships, about personal transformation, and what it actually takes. If you are, then February is going to be the month for you because each week we're going to get real about an important aspect of our lives by bringing a large dose of reality, and that's with a capital R, meaning what? Every time we capitalize it, it means God, and we're going to bring that to the table. Today, to kick things off, we're going to get real about an idea that is very prevalent in our New Thought teachings. It is the idea that life gives us lessons, and often difficult lessons at that, to test our faith and spiritual resolve. But is that really the case? Does life really give us lessons? Does life really test our faith and spiritual resolve by presenting us with difficulties? You've probably heard the statement that's been attributed to Mother Teresa, where she said, "I know God won't give me anything more than I can handle. I just wish He didn't trust me so much." So, my question is there really a force outside of us, call it God, life, whatever you will, that is testing us and laying adversity on us? I want to suggest that the answer to that question is no. Absolutely and unequivocally no. I do not believe that life gives us lessons, and if you do, make today be the day that you release that idea. I do not believe that God tests our faith or our spiritual resolve, and if you do, make today be the day that you release that too. I do not believe this one bit, and my prayer and intention is that after today, you will not either. Would you like to know what I do believe and what I invite you to believe with me? I believe that God is the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. A statement not originated by me, but rather taken from our Science of Mind Declaration of Principles written by Holmes and published in the first Science of Mind magazine in 1927. But you probably already knew that, right? Yeah. And I absolutely, completely, and unequivocally believe that. And there is also no room in that statement for God life that tests us and gives us difficult lessons. So, what do I believe about these experiences that we have that do seem to test our faith and our resolve, that do feel like difficulty, pain, and adversity? And what belief do I invite you into this morning? Well, let's take a breath, because it's personal responsibility time at a very, very high level. I believe that the essence of our being, the God of our being, the eternal spark of life, that only wants to be as fully expressed through and as us as possible, is calling experiences into our life so that we can become more of who we came here to be. Ernest Holmes tells us in The Science of Mind on page 31, we reach out to infinity, and since we cannot encompass infinity, we shall always be expanding and always enlarging our capacity to know and to experience. So said another way, I believe that we bring them in so that whatever is standing in the way of our expanding and enlarging our capacity to know our infinity, our divinity, can be dissolved and released. I love this note from the universe, which is one of my favorite little books that I keep around and read almost on a daily basis. If it weren't for your challenges, how would you ever know that there are things you still misunderstand? You wouldn't. So bless them, embrace them, and give thanks to them. Tally ho, 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 the universe. But really, darn, it's so much easier to blame someone else, even if it's God, than take the responsibility for it, isn't it? But what if we could bless them, embrace them, and give thanks for them because we know that they are here for us, for our expansion, our growth, our new levels of understanding. Really, for us to become more and more and more of who we really are at the core of our being. What do you suppose would happen? Here's a great parable to answer that question, and it's not a parable from Jesus, the master of parables, but a parable nonetheless. And I've told it before. Some of you have probably already heard it, and I thought about not sharing it again, but then, I thought, gosh, it's just too perfect, so I'm going to share it again. I think it's worth hearing a second time. And in a bit, I'm going to tell you another one that I could probably say the same thing, but we'll start with this one. So once upon a time, there was a young woman who was experiencing some significant challenges in her life. She did not know how she was going to make it, and she wanted to give up. She was tired of fighting and struggling, and it seemed as one problem was solved, another one arose. We've all had that happen, right? And so she went on to visit her father for comfort and support. Her father, who happened to be a chef, took her to his kitchen and sat her down at the kitchen table, and then he filled 3 pots with equal amounts of water and placed each one of them on a high fire. Soon the pots came to a boil, and in one he placed carrots, and in the second he placed what? For those of you who've heard this, remember the story? He placed eggs. And in the last one, he placed coffee beans. He let them boil without saying a word, and the daughter waited rather impatiently, wondering what he was doing. And in about 20 minutes, he turned off the 3 burners. He fished out the carrots and placed them in a bowl. He pulled out the eggs and placed them in a bowl. And then he ladled the coffee and he placed it in a cup. Turning to her, he says, "What do you see?" "Carrots, eggs, and coffee," she replied. He brought her closer and asked her to taste the carrots. She did. They were soft and mushy and tasteless. In fact, they were pretty much ruined. Then he asked her to try an egg. After pulling off the shell, she bit into the very, very, very hard-boiled egg, and it was also pretty much inedible. Finally, he asked her to sip the coffee. She smiled as she tasted its rich flavor. Confused and more than a little annoyed at the time that had passed and the lack of comfort and support she felt her father was providing, she asked, "An interesting experiment, Dad, but what does this have to do with me and my problems?" He explained that the carrots, the eggs, and the ground coffee beans, which each had faced the same severe adversity in the same amount of time in the boiling water, yet each one of them had reacted differently. The carrot went in strong and tough, but after being subjected to the boiling water became weak and even mushy. The egg, which had been fragile to begin with, held together by a thin outer shell, after being boiled for 20-some minutes, became hardened inside. The coffee grounds, the beans, however, were unique. Even after being boiled for 20 minutes, they did not really change. They stayed true to who they were and what they were, but they changed the water. He went on to ask his daughter, "When adversity knocks on your door, how do you respond? Are you the carrot that seems strong and tough, but with pain and adversity, do you wilt and become soft? Do you lose your strength? Are you the egg, which starts off with a soft fluid center, but in the faces of challenges becomes hardened inside? Your shell may look the same, but something inside is gone. Or are you like the coffee grounds? They did not change. They stayed true to what they were, and in the face of real adversity, they changed the world around them. They changed the water into coffee." He then said, "My darling daughter, the best comfort and advice I can give you is to be like the coffee bean. When things are at their worst, remember who you are, stay true to your nature, and you will change the world around you. And I will add, you will become more and more of who you were meant to be. We are not here on this earth plane merely for success. We are here to learn. We are here to grow. And daily life is guaranteed to offer us all that we need in order to grow and to evolve and awaken to our higher purpose here. So accepting that this is so, I want to bring 4 quick ideas to your awareness as you embrace this new way of looking at life lessons. So first, we cannot escape our growth experiences. There's a story told that Ptolemy, the king of Alexandria, once expressed his impatience at Euclid's elaborate explanation of geometry. "Is there a shorter way of learning geometry?" asked the king. Okay, I know, I was looking for that in 10th grade. "Sire," replied Euclid, "in the country there are 2 kinds of roads, the hard road for the common people and the easy road for the royal family. But in geometry, all must go the same way." There is no royal road for learning. This is our journey. This is our path in the human experience that we signed up for. Second, our lessons, they are repeated until we get it. How many of us have had the same lesson a few times before we go, okay, I'm getting this now? Our growth opportunities are repeated until we get the growth. Sometimes we hear a wake-up call, but prefer to pull the covers over our heads so that we can slumber and dream just a little longer. We may ignore, resist, rationalize, or blame for a considerable time. That's okay. Our schooling is entirely self-paced, but the opportunities for growth keep coming up until we change. I've had the same lessons presented in my life over and over and over until I finally learned what I needed to learn. We will speak more on this topic the last Sunday of this month, so consider that just a little teaser, a little precursor. So the third idea is they get more challenging. Our lessons get more challenging. If we don't get the easier ones, they get harder. What is it you like to say? I learn all of my lessons with ease and grace. Yes, ease and grace. But if we don't get the easier ones, it's kind of like, it's first a tap on the shoulder, and then it's kind of a little shove, and then pretty soon it's a 2x4, right? Resistance to growing reaps more dramatic consequences over time. Not to punish us, but to get our attention. As New Thought minister David Owen Ritz once said, if we ignore them, they go away, change clothes, get their friends, and they come back. So fourth, they may seem daunting, but we can grow. Just as when we are learning the rules of mathematics, as they did for Ptolemy, the king of Alexandria, the life's challenges may seem daunting or overwhelming. Nonetheless, we have the ability to grow from every experience, to release whatever does not serve, and to make a deeper connection with the God of our being. At any moment, we have the ability to make good choices and to start being who we are really meant to be. We don't have to wait for Sunday. We don't have to wait for Monday. We don't have to wait for the first of the month or first of the year. We can do it now, right this moment. Each moment is a new moment. We have the freedom to start letting God be God in us. When we can take the comfort in these words from Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind, he says, even in our troubles, we are not cast down, and though we appear to be deserted, we are not destroyed. All our appearances are working to the end that we learn the lesson of life and return to the Father's house as freed souls. So given my view on life's lessons, I would tweak that just a little bit to read, even in our troubles, we are not cast down, and though we appear to be deserted, we are not destroyed. All of our experiences are working to the end that we gain the expansion, the growth, and the new levels of understanding so that we can return to the Father's house as freed souls. The purpose of every growth opportunity is to heal the belief in separation. That is what we are all about. That is what we teach every Sunday, in every class, in every conversation, in every healing. It's not about whatever you think the complication or the challenge is. It is about the belief that we are separate from the one. And when that is healed, everything is healed. So that is what we really truly teach here. And I know that every step of the way, the infinite source of good is only conspiring for our good and is as close as our breath and as near as our hands and our feet. There is no separation. So I want to end with another parable, as I said already, one that I have shared before, but it's so good. Sometimes when I keep getting, no, this is what you need to share, I have to listen. So this is a good one. It's a story about a group of women in a Bible study. And the women were studying the passage of Malachi 3:3, which says, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver." Anyone familiar with this story? Okay, good. This verse puzzled the women in the Bible study group, and they wondered aloud what the statement meant. One of the women offered to find out the process of refining silver and get back to the group at their next Bible study. That week, that woman called a silversmith and made an appointment to watch him at work. She didn't mention anything about the reason for her interest beyond her curiosity about the process of refining silver. And now I'm kind of curious too. I think I'd like to watch someone do this. As she watched the silversmith, He held a piece of silver over the fire and he let it heat up. He explained that in refining silver, one needs to hold the silver in the middle of the fire where the flames are the hottest to burn away all of the impurities. The woman thought about how sometimes we're in hot spots in life and blamed God for putting us there. Then she thought again about the verse where it says, he sits as a refiner and purifier of silver. What did that mean? She asked the silversmith if it was true that he had to sit there in front of the fire the whole time that the silver was being refined. The man answered, yes, not only do I have to sit here holding the silver, but I have to keep my eye on the silver the entire time it is in the fire. If the silver is left a moment too long in the flames, it could be ruined. The woman was silent for a moment. Then she asked the silversmith, how do you know when the silver is fully refined? He smiled at her and answered, oh, that's easy. When I can see my image in it. When I can see my image in it. So if you feel that you are being held to the fire, remember you are not being tested. You have called it in for one reason and one reason only, so that the image of God can be more fully seen as you. And so it is.